It's really pleasure to have you. What I know that you are doing content marketing for a very long time. You have a successful experience of doing it. Why don't you tell us? First of all, we have like some of our listeners are even business owners who probably just understand content marketing by the term, but they don't really understand it in detail. So why don't you tell us what content marketing really is? How are you helping in growing these businesses with the help of content marketing?
All right, sure. So I know content marketing would seem like a foreign concept to many people because the concept of digital marketing in itself is like, catching heat over the last few years. So
Mm,
content marketing is just a subset of it. Think of it like, creating your website. So as you know, once upon a time, you used to have like, banners, billboards, and whatnot, like across
mm,
stores to like advertise your product, right? Now it's your website that does the job. So of course, if a user like wants to visit your website, wants to check out like what your product really is, what services do you offer, you need to ensure that your website can give the users like what they're looking for, give them the right content, like, okay, this is what we do, this is what we are, this is how we're going to help you, right? And creating content around that is one way that you can also like give users the answers to their queries, right? For instance, let's say you are a B2B business owner and you want to look for a hiring solution to find like better candidates for your company, right? You can just type something like recruitment software, and boom, on search results, like, you type it on Google, you'll get like 10 different pages. But how do you pick the right one? That's where like content marketing comes into play. You create like different types of content assets, like be it blogs, ebooks, white papers, etc., like to kind of market yourself in such a way where like you're positioned differently from the rest of the competition, and also you have like authority in the industry, right? So if someone asks like, hey, why should we choose you, you create comparison articles like, hey, we are better than XYZ solution because of so and so reason. So all of this like comes under content marketing. Another subset of content marketing, of course, is SEO, which is the elements that help your website kind of rank on Google. So you might have like a great website design, everything might be top notch, you might be creating great content also, but if you don't have your SEO parameters in place, for instance, maybe your website like domain authority is low, then it means like Google wouldn't really be able to find your page or like crawl your pages to like rank on SERP. That's where like SEO comes into play. So it's not just about like creating quality content. You also need to kind of create content to like, I guess, satisfy the algorithm gods that are out there. So yeah, I think that's a gist of like what content marketing really is.
have you seen any evolution? Have you seen any change in the way content marketing is being done? The way it was done 3 years back, let's say in 2021, and the
Mhm.
way we are doing it now.
Of course, of course. So I think one of the most notable changes that I've seen, like at least when I first began, was this concept of like skyscraper content. So, for instance,
Mm,
if you are, let's say, writing a blog and there are top 10 results out there, you just need to add one extra thing and then boom, you automatically rank on SERP. But of course, now it's not the case. I think with Google's algorithm like changing like the wind, there are a lot of other changes which are also coming into like content marketing as well. For instance, I think one of the major ones is that there's this EAT criteria that you have to solve for Google, especially if you want to rank first. So that is like expertise, experience, authoritativeness, trustworthiness. So it's not necessarily just like, okay, you write one extra thing and you get to rank. There are a lot of factors that go into place, like what is your website's authority, like what is your presence in the industry, like whatever you're saying, is it set by experts or like exactly like things like that. And like of course the quality of the content that you've written, that's something that comes into play with respect to like ranking on SERP. And of course other things, I think Google is also kind of cracking down on spammy policies like link exchanges that people used to do, used to like buy backlinks and whatnot. So I think there's more focus on quality now, something that I really like. And of course AI has been one of the biggest changes. Like I had begun writing before ChatGPT was actually a thing.
mm.
And of course I've seen like a massive shift since then, like whether it's ChatGPT or whether it's like AI writing tools. I think there's AI like influencing almost every aspect of marketing at this point. So yeah, those are some of the changes that I've seen.
Sure. So which tool you were using before ChatGPT, and what are the tools you are using right now? Other than
Before ChatGPT, I used to use Grammarly. That is, of course, to make
mm,
edits and all that before sending the drafts to my clients. And Hemingway editor, headline analyzer, just things to like kind of
Mm.
optimize my pieces so that it's more readable or like, it's coherent enough. Like
Mm.
none of, I mean, of course, all of the pieces were written like now without any use of AI in the beginning.
Mm.
But I guess like once the advent of ChatGPT and these other writing tools came into play, I experimented with a lot of different tools. I guess like Chatsonic being one of them, Phrase.io being one of them. Currently, I use WriterZen at the company where I work. So all of
Mm.
these, I wouldn't say they're like a core part of my writing process. They're just like
Mm.
a helping hand, sort of. Like, let's say if I want to draft an outline, for instance, or if I want to optimize for SEO. So it's just like little things, kind of like a cherry on top of the sundae. That I wouldn't say is also like great, but I'd say it's like marginally better in some ways. Definitely, like the results are a little bit more refined. And other than that, like yeah, now Grammarly has this AI feature in it. So sometimes I kind of use it to see, oh, is there a way I can like say this sentence better? So like yeah, again, like no specific tools as such, other than the ones that I mentioned. But yeah, like that's all I use for now. Like again, my use of like AI writing tools specifically hasn't been that prominent.
Sure.
Factors AI is essentially an account intelligence analytics platform. So it gives a marketer like a complete perspective of like what their like customer journey is. So you can, let's say maybe your prospect types like let's say someone from your ICP, they just type the words like marketing automation software, and then they click on your blog, and then from there they visit like other parts of your website, and then they book a demo, right? So normally you wouldn't be able to attribute like how much of your content is contributing to revenue, but with factors you can, like every marketing dollar is accounted for. So whether they visit your blog and then they visit your pricing page, like yeah, you get it, that's an MQL you can attribute to content marketing. Let's say they come to your website through a LinkedIn ad and then they come and book a demo, that's something that's attributed to performance marketing. Same for like whether they attend like a webinar or any other like event that you've hosted. And then so yeah, essentially like factors is what tells me if my content is like making an impact. So I'd say it's definitely been a boon to like have the tool, because it gives you a complete like bird's eye view of like how a prospect exactly discovers your content. So maybe let's say if I see that more customers are finding our website through the words like marketing automation software, for instance, then I can create more content around that specific keyword. So that way, like I'm also like boosting our site authority and generating revenue for the company.
Okay. So.
I think in terms of best practices, like with respect to content marketing, like I know it sounds like very cliche, generic advice, but just like
Mm.
speak to your audience like as much as you can. This means
Mm.
like going on Slack communities and talking to them, or maybe just creating content on LinkedIn, reaching out to them organically, trying to understand like what their biggest pain points are. One helpful tip I've learned is, let's say you are building a product that's catering to product managers, for instance. So you have what you can do is you can go through like various job descriptions that kind of describe the day-to-day responsibilities of a product manager, right? Let's say one of them is like creating user onboarding flows. So you can create content around like a quick ebook or something like a product manager's guide to creating effective user onboarding flows. Of course, this is like just one example. Let's say maybe you are working with ClickUp or Asana, and of course you're building to like solve the lives, like make it simpler for project managers. Follow similar exercise, see what a project manager really does, look at their like jobs to be done, and then like create content around like how exactly you make their lives easier, right? Because ultimately people aren't buying the product, they want to just make their own lives easier. Though nobody
Mm.
wants to buy a tool because like, oh, it's cool and all. They
Mm.
just want to be like, okay, fine, I should be able to sort my projects accordingly, I should be able to spend lesser time like assigning projects and more time on like optimizing on the work that I already have. Same for any, like let's say even if you're building a tool, like even these AI writing tools, right? They're essentially built to make our lives easier as writers. So they can create content around like how effective these tools are for writers, and like what exactly, like what is their unique suite of features and how exactly it benefits writers. So essentially, like yeah, that's one best practice. Really look into the job description of your ICP, and besides that, yeah, just create your make sure your content is like product focused. So Another thing I see a lot of content marketers do is they talk a lot and then they only pitch their product like towards the end, which I feel like is a rookie mistake, something that even I've
Okay.
been guilty of. I would suggest like you weave the product into
Yes,
it.
I
Like
have
it's a,
seen it like dozens of times. It's like every article, and just because they are being very defensive about promotion of their own product.
yeah, and I don't believe that promoting your product is a bad thing at all. I
Yeah.
feel like if you're not going to market it, who's going to do that? It's you are the
Yes,
person
and
who's
I
to
think
like.
by the 2024 internet audience is mature enough to know that the
Yeah,
most of the content market you are providing is just because you want to market something or some
yeah,
place.
yeah.
So if you are providing some value with the marketing, then you are more than welcome.
So true, so true. Yeah. So you should be able to just admit ki, like, okay, we are marketing this product, right? So for instance, let's say I'm going to take another example and say best practices for hiring managers to find the right candidate. Let's say that's a topic and you are selling a recruitment automation tool. You can't just
Mhm.
write the best practices and towards the end be like, okay, buy our tool. Like, why should they do that? You didn't give them any incentive. You just talked about
But
best
that is the
practices.
difference
Yeah,
almost like every like 8 out of 10 articles. So how do
exactly.
you do it? Like do where do you place the product? Do you place it in between? Do you place it multiple times? What is your what should be the ideal approach according to you?
The ideal approach, again, it depends. Like you're building a narrative, right? You're telling a story. So as I mentioned, the topic is best practices for hiring managers to find whatever, right? So if this, you need to first analyze the search intent. So it will obviously be a hiring manager trying to understand how can they optimize their recruitment process, right? So within that, I guess the first step would be use, let's say one of the steps would be to use a sourcing tool, candidate sourcing tool to find. Then within that you can plug your tool like, hey, by the way, this is how our tool does it. And then maybe
Yeah.
you can post like an image of the dashboard, or maybe you can post like a quick Loom video explaining how exactly your product does it. So that way, like, you're convincing readers ki, like, okay, this is the problem, this is how you can fix it, this is how we will help you fix it. So you should look at it from like a hero's journey perspective. So the hero's journey is like a, storytelling tool that I usually use. So just like how in every story there's like a once upon a time happily ever after, so you need
Mm-hmm.
to think of your customer as the hero. They're looking to solve their problem and get there happily ever after. You need to convince them that your tool is the way that they can get, their happy ending.
Okay. Going to change things. So how it has changed things for you and how your teams are collaborating and like how your organization is evolving with AI.
AI has definitely been this whole big trend that everyone's been talking about. It's all, I think it's been in the headlines for quite a while now. AI, yeah, initially I didn't embrace it as such because I just believed that it's just going to be an entire replacement for writers. And I
Okay.
was convinced, like, no, 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 I can create better than AI. But then I realized ki, it's not something that you have to
It's not
discover.
a fight.
Yeah, it's not a fight, rather AI is like your sidekick essentially. So what I use AI for like very generic tasks. For instance, if I'm writing a, let's say long form article, I just use AI to like kind of create the outline. Let's say if I want to write a post for my LinkedIn, I just type in a prompt, like I paste my LinkedIn link in it and it's like write a post in within this tonality, so and so, etc. I think the quality of the output that you get from AI is based on the data that you feed it. So focus more towards like feeding the right data rather than like, just typing one line, hey, write a blog on this article. Like that doesn't make sense, right? Then it will just produce the same generic stuff that it produces for every other topic. So I'd say, yeah, I use AI mainly to like create outlines and do the grunt work that would otherwise take me more time.
Actually, that reminded me. I was working with one of the top healthcare companies, it's like the biggest hospital group in India, and we had to generate 180 pages. Now it was around 180 landing pages for lead generation because they had so many procedures. So
Yeah.
because the procedures are the most valuable thing in healthcare.
Yeah,
So
true.
yes, so for those 180 landing pages, how I sometimes feel like because the process was something like uh, our internal team means I was working in an agency. So what they will do that they will outsource the content to an and then they will write the content and then our team will edit it and then I will give them the feedback and then find the team will do the final addition, and I think we will get the final output. But now what I feel that if like we could have written one let's suppose one landing page content properly, then for the other 179, if we would have given just correct input, I think
Yeah,
with just one editing rather than two edits,
yeah,
and
true.
without any external agency, I think we would have been able to generate the content for all those pages and probably in lesser time.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. If it
Yes.
comes to anything that's like repeatable per se, then
Mm.
yeah, I'd say AI is your best friend. Like, go for it. For
Yeah.
instance, let's say you need to create like a content calendar for the upcoming month, or you can just paste like, okay, hey, this is our company, this is what it does. We want a
Mm.
30-day calendar wherein we can create posts in different formats, generate ideas.
Mm.
So instead of like sitting for hours and hours thinking of like, okay, what idea do I do on this day? Just type out a prompt and it will give you like ideas right on the get go. So I think like that you can do month on month instead of sitting like regularly just to like ideate a whole calendar and whatnot. So I guess it's helpful for repeatable tasks for sure.
Have you? Do you also do copywriting? Like, have you been writing copies as well?
If I want to write a blog on a specific topic, and of course, introduction is the most crucial part because that is what helps people decide if they want to scroll. So that's where like all your copywriting energy kind of comes into play because there have been times where I've written the whole blog, but I'll spend more time on the introduction because it has to be perfect, right? So there are certain
Mm.
copywriting formulas that I follow, like the problem, agitate, solution, the before, after bridge. So and there are certain like AI tools wherein you can you know just give them this prompt ki, like, hey, this is the topic and I want you to follow this style of copywriting to write the introduction for this piece.
Which posts have been most successful for you? Like, what kind of posts have worked really well for you?
All right. So with respect to like what type of content really performs well on LinkedIn, I guess that's something that's entirely up to the great algorithm, whatever is functioning on LinkedIn up there. Nobody really knows how
Okay.
to specify the algorithm. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
maybe there have been times when like I just write two lines and I get like some more than 100,000 impressions. And sometimes I
Okay.
might spend hours working on a post and it'll hardly get like some 30, 40 likes. So it really depends, right? A virality is usually a fluke when it comes to LinkedIn. But based on what I've seen, at least other creators do, is whenever they share like these valuable advice in the form of, let's say, infographics or videos, that tends to
Mm.
perform really well. So the more visual you are with your content, like that's what works best compared to like if it's just text post, because like visuals are always more engaging. People and essentially people like to learn through visuals. So I would say like any image that you have, I think that's also part the reason why like people tend to put those irrelevant pictures in a long caption and that goes viral, because I think LinkedIn kind of recognizes that okay, the visuals on the post, so that means there is something there. Of course it can't exactly read everything, but yeah, I think it tends to push posts with like more visuals on it. So that's one thing I would suggest. Other
Mm.
than like with respect to what posts perform well for me, have always been like where I've tried to bring in like a unique insight or like a unique perspective. So this again like goes with thought leadership itself as a context, right? As a what do you say? The whole concept of thought leadership, people believe is that oh, anybody can be a thought leader, but that's not really the case. Thought leadership, in my opinion, is like, hey, this is the narrative that's going on, and this is why I believe it. So with respect to like creating content, I actually approach like an inverted funnel strategy. So instead of since top of the funnel content, like there are already like big sites with high domain authorities like already ranking for it, it doesn't make sense to like create tofu content first, which is why I start with the bottom of the funnel topic. So let's say if you are like an early stage startup, like maybe let's say you are a new email marketing tool, of course you
Mm.
cannot compare compete with Mailchimp and all of these other big industry names that are out there. If you
Mm.
write a blog that's like what is email marketing, that's not going to rank. You're still a new website, it's still like
Mm.
SEO isn't in place, content isn't like still as great as I guess what Mailchimp and all would write. So what you do here is that you create more bottom of the funnel content. So maybe like Mailchimp alternatives, you go in with a bang and you say, hey, this is why we are better than MailChimp because we offer so and so features. Here is why we're better than Active Campaign or I guess Klaviyo or any of these other brands, right? So you start with like bottom of the funnel content, like make sure you create, and then based on that, you create like a middle of the funnel content, like why do you exactly need an email marketing tool? And then you kind of plug in your services there. And after that, like, yeah, there are some like zero volume, tofu content keywords that you can target. I definitely vouch for like zero volume keywords because it can really surprise you, like what people can search for. If you think maybe a certain keyword is like really long tail and you believe nobody will search for it, you're wrong. There are always people searching for the most longest queries possible. So yeah, marketing is also just A/B testing and seeing what works, what doesn't. You never know like what can surprise you. Maybe even if on social media, if you see like videos are performing well, then you create more videos. Then
Mm-hmm.
for like, maybe you see events and all, like if events are not working, then you shut that down. Maybe, not every company has to do what your competitor does. It cannot be like, oh, they started a podcast, we should start a podcast. That's not exactly the strategy that you should follow. So you should go with something that is working for you. At least that's what I
Sure,
believe.
sure.
Science, for instance. So there's this tool called like phrase.io. So what it does is it scrapes all the top 10 like results on Google and it creates a rough outline. So instead of like figuring out by yourself, oh, what should I write for this piece? Like you have an outline ready and you have an outline that's also verified by like search results itself. So it's not
Sure.
like a complete shot in the dark. So that's one thing you can do. Then for keyword research, yeah, AI is definitely helpful. Let's say you want to we'll create a list of keywords for around a keyword called community marketing. So there will be keywords like community marketing tools, community marketing examples, community marketing versus influencer marketing, etc., etc. Like it can generate like a whole list of things, of course. And then other than that, yeah, I mean that's what I basically do. I'll use AI for like again very minimal tasks that I want to just get done with like this.